Hello and welcome to the Richmond News 2020 Provincial Candidate Debate via Zoom. In the past, the Richmond News has hosted or at least participated in candidate meetings for elections at all levels of government. This year, obviously, that wasn't possible. However, we still felt it was essential that the citizens of Richmond have an opportunity to hear from the people vying to represent them in Victoria. When it comes to provincial and federal elections, many voters simply vote along party line, which is fine. But the strength of every party is made up by the strength of its individual representatives. This gives you an opportunity to assess each of those individuals on their own merit. Moreover, it gives each of the candidates an opportunity to address issues unique to Richmond and explain how their party's platform will play out in our community. This is the first of 4 candidate meetings we'll be hosting via Zoom. There'll be one for each of the ridings. So just so you know what to expect over the next 40 minutes or so, here's our agenda. We'll begin by giving each of the candidates an opportunity to introduce themselves. We will then present questions under 4 main topics, time permitting, but healthcare, the Massey Tunnel, economic restart, and housing. We will follow that by a couple of questions that have been sent in by our readers. And finally, each candidate will have 1 minute to offer a final word. So with that, I'll hand the meeting over to Maria Rantanen, our senior reporter, who will be moderating our debate. Maria?
Hi. So the Richmond-Queensborough riding was a hotly contested seat in the 2017 election, and in the end, the winner and the runner-up were separated by just 134 votes. This year, we have representatives from all 4 parties. Each candidate will be given 45 seconds to introduce themselves, after which we'll go to questions prepared by the Richmond News and our readers. So we will start with Johal. You have 45 seconds to tell us about yourself.
Well, thank you, Maria, and thank you to the Richmond News and my candidate colleagues who are put their name on the ballot. Thank you so much today. My name is Johal. I am running for the candidacy of the BC Liberal Party in Richmond-Queensborough. I've been a strong advocate for the constituency in my 3 years in the legislature, and I'll continue to be so. Looking forward, this is a challenge that we have before us, not only COVID and the health side, but also economic recovery and what economic recovery is going to look like and who's going to best advocate for this region as we move a year, 2 years, 3 years into this economic recovery. We have a lot of challenges ahead of you, collectively as a constituency, and most importantly, you need a strong representative to speak for this riding as we look at economic and health recovery when it comes to COVID. Thank you.
Thank you, Jazz. And next, Singh. You have 45 seconds.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, candidates, for being here. Just a bit about myself. I was born in India, raised in Hong Kong, and chose to move to Richmond, beautiful Richmond, British Columbia, in 1989 with a lot of other family and friends from Hong Kong, where I lived for 23 years at the number 5 in Cambie area. I live with my father, my elderly father, whom I take care of, and my wife Katrina, and my 1-year-old baby daughter Lenny. Growing up, my parents taught me that we really have to take care of those in need, right? Those that are most vulnerable. And I've carried that lesson from childhood to this day. It's a reason why I became a lawyer. I'm a lawyer by profession. I do civil rights and human rights law. And it's a reason why I chose the BC NDP and want to be an advocate for the people of Richmond. In the last 3.5 years, you've seen that the NDP has shown what a government that actually truly cares about everyone looks like. They've made life more affordable, provided increasingly excellent services for everyone, all the while making an economy that works for all of us. Pandemics presented an unprecedented time, and we need to have a strong, stable government going forward for the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we will hear from Hale.
Good morning. Thank you very much for inviting us here. My name is Hale. I lived in Richmond for nearly coming up 40 years. I was born and bred in Hong Kong. I went to school there and finished my master's degree in the United Kingdom in business administration. The reason I am running here in this riding is, first and foremost, Richmond is a multicultural kind of a city, and myself coming from Hong Kong, and I speak um, Cantonese, Mandarin, Hindi, Punjabi, and English. I can relate with the people here. I can communicate with the people here. And most importantly, I know the culture and their beliefs and what they want and their needs. This 2020 election is a very, very important election, albeit it's a snap election. I just hope everybody will come up and vote. Why? Because we, all the more reason, we need to elect the person for what the person can do for us, not the party. We need to elect a person who lives in the riding, who knows what we need here in Richmond, not somebody that lives outside. We also need to have a person to present us in Victoria that will actually carry our voices there to Victoria rather than toe the party line. It is very important for our senior, for our children, for our future. And of course, you know, this COVID-19 has caused a lot of hardship and heartache on all of us in many different ways. Thank you very much.
And finally, Earl Einarson.
Hi, everyone. My name is Earl Einarson, and I'm running for the BC Greens in Richmond-Queensborough. So I stand for the lands, and I stand for the people on the lands. So I stand for you and future generations so that we can all enjoy the benefits of clean air, fresh water, healthy communities. I'm the father of two. I'm a grandfather. I live in Richmond. I live in the riding, Richmond-Queensborough. I live just off South Arm. And and this community is really important to me, and the people in this community are who matter to me. So I'm running for those people. I'm also First Nations. I'm Tinaha, which is up near the Columbia River, and I'm proud to be a First Nations voice in the political arena. I went to high school here in Richmond, and then I moved back when we had our children, and we have raised our son. He's gone through elementary school, high school, here in the same community near South Arm. I've met some wonderful people in this community. I look forward to representing the people of this community.
Thank you, everyone. And now we move on. The Richmond News has prepared questions for the candidates, and we have also received some from our readers. Each candidate in the prepared questions will have a minute to answer, after which everyone will be given the chance for a 1-minute response. All the candidates will be given a third opportunity to respond with a time limit, this time of about 30 seconds. So our first question is on healthcare. Richmond has been waiting for more than a decade for a new hospital. Long-term care facilities are under pressure as our population ages, and those needing mental health services are underserved. What concrete plans does your party have in place to ensure healthcare, long-term care, and mental health services into the future? We're going to start with Singh. You can answer first. You have 60 seconds to start.
People deserve better healthcare faster now more than ever. Our seniors deserve, better care. They've been at risk. I personally know that we need to keep them healthy and safe. As I said earlier, I live and take care of my aged father. I know firsthand the challenges that seniors and their families face. Seniors are the backbone of our community and deserve the dignity and care. In the pandemic, we've seen how important a strong healthcare system is. And during the 16 years that the BC Liberals were in power, they gave tax breaks to the wealthy and made healthcare worse for everyday people like you and me. In Richmond, where all of the MLAs were from the BC Liberals, they did nothing about an aging and overused Richmond hospital. The BC NDP government came in, and we've invested a lot of money into healthcare and to fight COVID. In 2018, it came in and announced the new acute care tower for the Richmond Hospital. We're building 13 new or improved hospitals around the province, including the one in Richmond. We've improved services so that hundreds of thousands of people are able to get care at urgent care primary centers. On the seniors, we're hiring 7,000 new staff in long-term care and assisted living. This was a big problem when the pandemic arose because of the cuts that the BC Liberals had done. One of the reasons that the pandemic spread throughout some of the long-term facilities is because of the multi-facility care that some of the workers had to do. We got rid of that, so the workers can only work in one place. And we're putting more money into that. We're also building, we believe that private long-term facilities have a space, but we're invested in building, putting money in and building new public long-term care homes where people can get quality care. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And just Johal, it's your turn to answer the question. So asking about your party's plan for healthcare.
Sure. So the plan initially, and I want to touch on that first, and then I'll talk about some of the history of the BC Liberals in regards to what we've done for healthcare. So we've already said we're going to invest an additional $1 billion over 5 years into long-term care facilities. We're going to work to ensure that every single senior in these long-term care facilities has access to a private room. We've also said that we're going to have a new tax credit of $7,000 per year for seniors for those who want to stay at home if possible as well. I do want to add, comment a little bit on what's been stated already in regards to what have BC Liberals done. We spent over $100 million on Richmond Hospital over the past 16 years, just improving the present facility. We have committed to building the acute care tower and funding all of it, period, full stop. I also want to remind you in those 16 years, the healthcare budget went from $9 billion across this province to $18 billion. We doubled healthcare spending. I also want to remind everybody in that time, BC Liberals have built 7 new hospitals, 10 additions, and 11 towers along the way. So we've done a significant amount of work in regards to healthcare spending, and we remain committed to healthcare spending throughout the province, and especially and including Richmond.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. And Earl Einarson, your turn to answer the question.
Thank you. I really appreciate this question. So mental health, well-being, I mean, that's such an important thing. This, this pandemic that we're all suffering through right now, it's impacting many people in very negative ways when it comes to health care. We really recognize that in the BC Greens, and we want to do something about it. We want to improve people's reach and their accessibility to pieces like that. So in our plan, which we Sonia just brought out yesterday. I was lucky enough to be at New West with her as she came out with our plan. We're allocating $200 million per year to invest in mental health care facilities. We're going to develop and implement a loneliness strategy. We're conducting a public information campaign to gain awareness, to increase awareness, and we, of course, we listen to communities. That's part of our mandate. And we're investing in affordable and accessible mental health care system where cost is not a barrier for people seeking it. So we're going to allocate $1 billion over a 4-year cycle to address mental health issues within the medical services plan. That's really important to us. Oops, there's my bell. I heard it.
We'll have a little bit of time later, but Kay Hale, I wonder if you can answer the question.
Hi. Healthcare, hospitals. I would say, whatever other parties are promising, we will see. But what is most important right now in Richmond is Richmond has grown leaps and bounds. What we have is one hospital here, one and only, and is overloaded. We have, during COVID-19, when we have the salute at 7 o'clock, it is so overloaded. Our staff is so overworked. They can't even come out to the road and salute, and take the kind of appreciation that we were showing them. They were overworked. Our seniors are aging. They need health care. They need x-ray. They need medical attention. But they got to wait months and months. Why? Because we just don't have the capacity to accommodate them. And then I'm a grandmother. A grandmother of very young children. So I have seen my daughters, when they were having baby, they were bounced from the Richmond General Hospital to the Lionsgate Hospital to Royal Columbian. Why? Because the Richmond Hospital, 90% of it is filled up with passport babies, and that needs to be stopped. And we got to work with the federal government to, accommodate that, or not accommodate that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kay. So now we'd like to give candidates a chance to respond to what they've heard. We'll start with Singh. You have 60 seconds to give a response to what you've heard from your opponents.
Sorry?
Again, unmute myself. My apologies
Okay.
there. People deserve better healthcare. For 16 years, they didn't get that healthcare. What happened was the BC Liberals gave tax breaks to the wealthy and made healthcare worse for everybody, people like you and me. People waited too long for surgeries. They refused to build or replace hospitals. Richmond Hospital had cracks in the building. They were putting people in the basement, patients in the basement. During the last campaign, when John Horgan came into town, he came and he looked at the hospital. He looked at it, we showed it to him, and he promised during that campaign that he was going to do something about it. As soon as he was elected, he made that promise. He came in 2018, made the announcement for an acute care. That's been upgraded, and the plan is completely underway. It's been costed out. The business plan is there. The hospital is going to be built. They didn't, with 4 MLAs from Richmond, didn't do anything for 16 years.
Thank you. And Earl Einarson, do you have a response?
I do. It's so important for us to listen to our constituents. So I just want to, I understand that we are, it's so interesting to hear Kay, and I really appreciate her voice in this arena. She's speaking about her real life experiences here. I hear it too. That our hospital is absolutely overburdened, and we really need to place the emphasis back on building out that primary care. We're going to be here at the Greens. We're part of our platform was working on primary care and improving it for Richmond people and the people of BC. So we are working at expanding accessibility of healthcare services. What we're going to increase the number of BC British Columbians with a family doctor. That's really important to us. We're developing a proposal to implement an essential drugs program beginning in 2022.
All right, thank you, Earl. And Kay, your turn to respond.
My response is, I agree with, the parties that are coming out to spend money, that is all good. I love to hear that, But I like to ask the Liberals, where were they the last election? They weren't talking about the Richmond Hospital at all. They were going on and on about the bridge. I was the one who said our Richmond Hospital need updating. And now everybody, they are coming out and saying, yes, we are going to have shovel on the ground. I love to see that. Whoever is elected, I love to see that. I'm not running anybody down. I would like to hold their feet to fire. Whoever is elected, I will hold their feet to fire. We need nurses. We need the hospital expansion, and we need to do something about these passport babies, because it hurts to see our daughters being bounced from places to places when they are in labor. It hurts.
Thank you, Kay. So we're going to allow for just a final 30-second rebuttal, and we'll go in the same order. So we'll start with Aman. You have 30 seconds just for your final rebuttal to your opponents. And I think you're muted again.
Unmuted. My apologies. The shovels will be in the ground next year. Business plan is done. Richmond Acute Hospital is being built, full steam ahead. There's no doubt about that. But we've done more than that. We've fixed understaffing in senior care homes. We've hired 7,000 new workers in long-term and assisted living. We've ended the multi-facility staffing that was spreading COVID. We've opened many new primary care centers where families can get the care that they need. We've got a recovery plan of $3 billion a year for the next 3 years, $9 billion altogether, to continue to build infrastructure like roads, hospitals, schools, public long-term care homes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think our ding is not dinging always, or at least I'm not hearing it. Jazz, 30 seconds, your final rebuttal.
Sure. A couple things. One, the acute care tower was in the 2017 BC Liberal platform. I want to reiterate again, we spent $100 million on the Richmond Hospital over the last 16 years. We've doubled healthcare spending from $9 to $18 billion, built many, many hospitals and towers across this province. We are committed to the acute care tower. It is going to get built, but I want to remind you, the final dollars are not in, and right now in the NDP budget, this is how much they have put in the budget, $0. They're talking about it. No money has been set aside yet for the tower. This is how much they have promised so far in their budget.
Thank you, Jazz. Earl, final rebuttal, 30 seconds.
Thank you. I heard Johal's reply that that they were busy for the last 16 years building hospitals. I heard that. I don't see anything in Richmond, mind you, but yeah, I hear it across BC. But I live in Richmond. And I speak for the people of Richmond and Queensborough. So we're going to bring in, we're going to work closely with the physicians and other stakeholders who are part of this healthcare system and this policy. We need to work with them. So we're consulting with physicians and other stakeholders to improve efficiency, reduce admin, incentivize. Thank you.
Thank you. And Kay, you have the final word, 30 seconds.
I agree that, yes, the Liberal did build hospital and we are very thankful for them. But what about Richmond? Richmond was at the bottom of the totem pole, absolute bottom. Richmond Hospital, we didn't hear anything from the Liberals about Richmond Hospital until after the election was called. So, how do you explain that? I need to know, where does our Richmond Hospital stand? Our population is increasing, and there was zero talk about Richmond Hospital. I would like to see, whoever is elected among us, I would like to see that change.
Thank you, Kay. So we're going to move on to our second question, and it's on the replacement of the George Massey Tunnel. The BC Liberals, when in government, set in motion a plan to build a 10-lane bridge to replace the tunnel. When elected in 2017, after opposition from the majority of local councils, the BC NDP scrapped this 10-lane bridge plan and proposed new options, delaying the process, but claiming their plans were more closely aligned with local municipalities. So our question is, to replace the aging George Massey Tunnel, do you prefer a second tunnel or a bridge, and why? And we are going to start with Johal. You can answer first. You have 60 seconds.
I will. The reason we are supporting the original concept is the environmental approval has already been done. We can listen to local communities, try to mitigate some of the challenges that they feel are there. But I think the environmental process is done. This project was shovel ready when the NDP canceled it, and all we've got for it is 6 kilometers of sand. That if we had started this, they would have been 3/4 built by now. Even the process that we begin now, at the earliest, we're looking at maybe 2028, probably closer to 2030. The bridge concept was the one that was agreed upon simply because of advice from public servants, experts in the job, who said to build a seismically sound crossing, the bridge is the best way to go. If you had to build a seismically safe tunnel, it would cost significantly more, especially, and it would have especially impact the river bottom when it comes to dredging and the amount of construction that's going to be required. So that's why the decision was we move forward with the 10-lane bridge. It is still the most sound, and it would have been 3/4 built by now. And I think at the end of the day, the public just want us to get on with it.
Thank you, Jazz. Kay, Hale, if you could answer the question next.
I think building the bridge versus the tunnel and vice versa. The bridge is done. In 2017, it was estimated the cost was $3.5 billion to build, and twinning the tunnel was half the cost and half the price. Twinning the tunnel, if we have a tunnel versus the bridge, first and foremost, let me go back. All the mayor in the Lower Mainland were opposed to the tunnel except for a mayor in Delta. Secondly, building the bridge, a 10-lane bridge, is bigger than the Brooklyn Bridge. Our bedrock is not as deep as San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge, and that bridge was built and it is sinking slowly and slowly. We don't need a bridge here. It's not good for the environment. It's not good for our salmon spawning, and it's going to encroach on our farmland. And when we build the bridge, who is paying for the toll? we are paying for the toll. It's going to cost the average builder, the citizen, $2,000 every year to pay for the toll. So it's the cost. How about the LNG tanker pay for it?
Thank you, Kay. And next, Aman Singh, if you could answer the question.
Thank you. Yeah, people should be able to get to work, home, and school safely and quickly, right? As I said before, many years I traveled from work in Surrey back to a home in Richmond, East Richmond, and spent many a frustrating minute in that lineup. I understand the frustration of being in that lineup. You know, this congestion and problems at this crossing and other crossings didn't appear yesterday. They've been there for a long time. For 16 years, the BC Liberals did nothing about that. They charged unfair tolls and refused to build essential projects that support transit. This left people stuck in traffic. When communities pleaded for help with transit projects, their transport minister, Fassbender, told them to suck it up. They want to completely change the course on the Massey crossing, further risking major delays, and they want to charge us for it by tolling it, and just creating more problems for surrounding communities. This project is full steam ahead. It's underway. The Ministry of Transportation is going to put out its business plan at the end of this fall. Thank you.
Thank you. And Earl, your turn to answer the question.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So this really is this is really the most important thing that we talk about in terms of transportation for Richmond-Queensborough. First off, our riding is unique. We have the most bridges out of all the ridings throughout BC. And the Massey Tunnel is a large part of the conversation. Whenever I talk to people, it comes up. So what I believe, first off, I'm going to step back and say that this is really not a bridge versus tunnel discussion. Whatever is built, and let's talk about, well, we'll talk about large view first. My rebuttal, I'll talk about other pieces. In a big view, we're talking about ecologically sound and sustainable transportation policies. That's what we really need. We have to be aware that there's an estuary there, that there is huge repercussions to ALR land, which is Richmond side. Again, I'm speaking for Richmond. And we know that the building of a bridge is going to create two huge cloverdales or clover reliefs of highway, and one will be on ALR land right here in Richmond.
Thank you, Earl. And so round two, again, 60 seconds to respond. Jazz, we'll start with you.
I'm just going to jump in here once again. Sorry. When I put my hand up, that means you have 5 seconds left, and then I'll do the ding. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So let me just deal with the points very quickly. This is a provincial highway. It's provincial responsibility. Once again, this is how much money Richmond Council's putting into the project. This is how much money the Metro Vancouver mayors are putting into this project. So it's provincial responsibility. Second, the Tsawwassen First Nations opposed the tunnel. So this could lead to litigation for many, many, many years. So this thing isn't shovel ready. The original project was. 3, there will be no tolls, period, full stop. We've done 13,000 pages of environmental review and consultations over 135 meetings. London Drugs and other employers are threatening to move out, meaning we'll lose employees. It'll be difficult to retain employees and keep them in Richmond. So hence, we have to get this project up and running and quickly. The original project is shovel ready and ready to go and has had environmental approval. In regards to us building things, I remind everybody, we have built the Canada Line, we have built the Olympic Oval, we built the South Fraser-Primer Road, we built the Port Mann Bridge, and we want to build the Massey Crossing. It's the right project for Richmond and for British Columbia.
Thank you. And Kay Hale, it's your turn to respond.
Yes, this is a provincial issue, but they are encroaching on our ANR land. You know, it's our land in Richmond, and it is costing the citizen crossing the bridge more $2,000 every year out of their pocket because there will be tolls. So, yeah.
No tolls, no tolls.
Well, we will see.
Let Kay speak and we'll have a final rebuttal.
We will see, Jess, but you know, if you get back in there, I'm going to hold your feet to the fire. And if there is toll, you and I are going to have coffee over it and talk about it as a private citizen, and you as the elected official. Promise?
Promise, no tolls, and I'll buy the coffee.
Okay, thank you.
Aman Singh, your response, 60 seconds.
They want to cut, the BC Liberals want to cut taxes. They want to give a relief on they want to cut the PST. Where are they going to get the money for to build these projects? Where are they going to get the money for? They're going to toll these things. They say that now. You can't trust them. You know, we put and you can't thrust projects down on people. You know, we put the crossing out to the representatives of people, the mayor's councils, and got their recommendations. When you thrust projects down on people, you get things like the garbage bumps that you have on the South Perimeter Road, right? The proper thing to do was to ask the people who were affected by this and get the recommendations from them. We got that. The Ministry of Transportation began work on this, on the business case, and the business case is completed this fall. And we'll move where this project is moving along full steam along. There's no reason to go back to the bridge. They have no new ideas, and that's why they keep on bringing up the bridge, the PST relief, and the same old give tax relief to the wealthy and make us all pay for it.
Thank you, Aman. And Earl, 60 seconds.
Again, this is such an important discussion that we're having here, and so that ultimately we need to think ecologically sound and sustainable. We need to think of transportation. We need to think about healthy community planning. I do believe, though, that we do need a resolution to this piece. And so what I'm asking for is to place a Greens voice into the leg so that at least we can speak for the sustainability and ecological pieces of this. I have to tell you that if we're talking about building there is a lot to discuss here, and the mayor, back in 2017, we did listen to the mayor's council. We understand regional development and regional coordination is very important. Yes, it's a provincial responsibility, but we believe it's a big part of municipalities' piece to hear their voice in this. We listen to them.
Thank you. And third round, we have 30 seconds. Jazz, go ahead.
Sure. I would add that what we forgot in this conversation, that original proposal included $500 million in transit improvements. We continue to forget that. That is significant in regards to moving people. If you have a 10-lane bridge with dedicated bus lanes, you essentially have 4 lanes either way for traffic for a bridge that's going to last us 120 years. If we start with an 8-lane bridge and put in bus lanes as well, then you have 3 lanes on day one either way in traffic. Ministry of Transportation studies have proven, or have already shown to us, that by 2040, that bridge, that 8-lane bridge that the NDP is pushing, and others are maybe pushing, will be once again at gridlock for a mere 10 years. We'll have a bridge that actually works. And then so after that, once again, we're back in gridlock. So you have to build a bridge for 30, 40, and 50 years ago. And the one that we propose includes $500 million in transit improvements. That's what everybody forgets about this.
Thank you, Jazz. Kay, 30 seconds.
Well, the gridlock, what about if you put in a 10-lane bridge? What about our Knight Street Bridge? What about our Queensborough Bridge? The Oak Street Bridge, Arthur Lang Bridge. There's a 10-lane traffic flowing either way, especially coming in from Delta. You know, we are going to have a gridlock in the Oak Street Bridge and Knight Street. How about if we do something to widen that first? How about if we put the horse in front of the cart and then go and deal with the cart? In the meantime, just twin the tunnel. The tunnel can be used in the meantime while we are twinning the other part of the tunnel, and it will be a reasonable flow. It will not be a 10-lane bridge as such. Thank you.
Thank you, Kay. Aman, 30 seconds, final rebuttal. And you're muted.
Part of the responsibility of government is to listen to the people that are going to be affected. And that's why we put it out there. And the Greens supported this, right? The Greens were in government when we put this out there to the Mayor's Council. No one wants that bridge, right? The farmers whose farm will be affected by the massive clover leaves that Earl is talking about, no one wants that. We've got a project that's already there. It's full steam ahead. Changing it now is going to take us back 3.5 years. They're going to have to go back to the Mayor's Council. You're going to have to go back to Metro Van. Makes absolutely no sense.
Thank you, Aman. And Earl, final word on this topic.
I think it's really important to think holistically. So I'm an Indigenous. Think holistically. I think our policy reflects that in the BC Greens. We need to build sustainability, accountability for ecological impact. This is a salmon-bearing river. We need to think about that. There's a lot of discussion, by the way. I've had some really deep discussions about the bridge. It's not as there's or about the bridge versus tunnel. There is a lot of discussion what has to happen, but we've done a lot of discussion already. We do need to implement a strategy moving forward.
Thank
I
you.
just want to be a voice for the ecological piece of it.
Thank you. And the visuals greatly appreciated. It's props here. Thank you. Moving on to our next topic and our next question. So we are living through a global pandemic, which early on shut down large parts of the economy, with the tourism and hospitality industry in Richmond particularly hard hit. Our third question is, what specific actions will your government take to restart the economy? And we are going to start with Earl Einarson. You can answer the question first. You have 60 seconds.
And
Sure.
I'm just going to jump in again. We'll do that. Each has 60 seconds, but we will forget the third one because I can see we're running out of time.
Oh.
Okay, so you have 60 seconds and then you'll have another 60 seconds. Okay.
So small business, they're the backbone. So let's face it, the economy in BC is the backbone of all that is small businesses, SMEs, small and medium enterprises. So we need to support them. And part of that includes tourism, by the way. So tourism is a big part of SMEs, especially here in Richmond and Queensborough. We're going to allocate $300 million to create a 6-month rent subsidy program for small businesses. Here at the BC Greens, we're going to retool the provincial grant program to focus on supporting small tourists. We're going to work and develop a separate granting program to ensure signature businesses can survive COVID-19, as in not-for-profit tourism businesses, cultural facilities, attractions. We're going to work with the federal government to establish a repayable loan program for the hospitality sector and for tourism. We're going to exceed and for tourism operators that exceed the criteria for small tourism programs.
Thank you. Singh, your turn to answer the question, 60 seconds.
You know, small businesses are so important to us as our other medium and large size businesses. They're important to our economies, to our economy and our communities. I'm a small business owner. I've run my own small business for the last 21 years. I know the challenges we face, and especially the new challenge that COVID has created. As I said earlier, you know, we've been, you know, for months we were shut down, and you know, you sit there and you think of how your employees, your other partners, how you're going to pay for all of this, and it's a daunting situation. But you know, when COVID first hit, the BC NDP came in and they faced the challenge. You know, they put in an unprecedented $8 billion investment to support people and kickstart the economy. They introduced a PSC rebate on machinery and equipment so people can invest in their businesses, a 15% tax credit, and it continues on, right? There's the new one-time $1,000 direct deposit for small businesses. There's $300 million in grants to help support 15,000 of the hardest hit small businesses.
Thank you, Aman. And Jazz?
Thank you. You know, with COVID, obviously a health crisis, first and foremost, and dealing with that is most important for, I think, anybody in government. The second issue is economic recovery, and you raised a very good point there. According to the Business Council of British Columbia, 10 to 20,000 small businesses have potential to go under by the end of 2021. Many of them are open now, but they're barely holding on. How we recover is so very important for our economy. And that's one of the reasons why we talked about a PST break of limiting PST for the first year, and then 3% the second year, and then most likely it would be going up to its original 7%. We want to get money in the hands of British Columbians first, to spend some of that money, and then they can decide where they want to spend that money. But part of that money is going to be spent on small businesses because they do need that help. You know, at the end of the day, we've also eliminated the small business tax, promised to eliminate the small business tax to help out small businesses as well. And that's part and parcel of us moving forward. How we handle economic recovery with some of the policies that we've introduced moving forward is going to be most important for our economy to make a fundamental recovery from COVID.
Thank you. And Kay, your turn to answer the question.
Small businesses are the backbone of our community, our country. Small businesses are very important to our economy. Not only are small businesses suffering, so are the large ones. WestJet today, for example, shutting down more than half its fleets. What I when I am elected to Victoria, I would like to reach out across the floor, work with all the liberals that are promising all the big bucks, and work with all the NDP that are promising all the big bucks and the Greens, and say, okay, now let's put it out. And we got to come up with a plan where there's a tax rebate, where we can help the small businesses, and grants where we can help small and big businesses, and with a reasonable payback program. And I just think that small, big, all businesses are going to suffer, but it will be a heartbreak to see all these small businesses going out of business, so to speak. So we got to work to help sustain that economy, so to speak. And before I run out of time, I also want to say the bridge. They want to put the bridge in is because they want the LNG tankers to go through. You know, it's not for any other purpose. A humongous bridge is strictly for the LNG tankers. Thank you.
Thank you. And Earl, do you have a response?
To which part? To the tankers? Absolutely. So the LNG tanker issue that is raised, it's a big part of why a bridge is being proposed. We have to think of the height. So there is a proposed height, and that height does allow for large ships to become for estuary to become a pathway for LNGs. Huge freighters, so we have to think about that. Back to small business and tourism. So we need to offer real solutions. So our $300 million to create a 6-month rent subsidy program is real. It's for small businesses. Retooling the provincial grant program to focus on small tourism operators, that's real. To work with nonprofits, cultural facilities, attractions to make sure that they weather the storm of COVID-19 by a separate granting program. We need to create that, and we will create it. We're going to help you through this.
Thank you. Aman, your turn to respond.
You know, we've responded. I'm proud of what we've done and how we've responded to the challenges of the pandemic. This is an unprecedented time. Like, none of us have lived through anything in our lifetimes, and hopefully we'll never have to do so again. In terms of small businesses, we have the second lowest tax rate for small businesses in Canada. We put in more than $700 million in tax relief by cutting property tax bills by 25% for businesses. This saved a business an average of $5,600. We provided BC Hydro rebates for businesses that had to close, an average of $363. Allowed restaurants to purchase alcohol at wholesale prices, saving up to 25%. Strongly advocated to the federal government for subsidies. Our economic recovery plan is there. Our grant program provides an extra $10,000 top up to eligible tourism operators. We provided a 1-year 100% PSU rebate on machinery and equipment so that businesses, so people can invest in their businesses and buy appliances, tools, software, and computers. We also provided a 15% tax credit to help businesses grow and rehire new employees.
Thank you, Aman. Jaz, do you have a response?
Yes, I'll respond to that. First of all, I was in the legislature in March when 12 MLAs provided or approved $5 billion in emergency funding, COVID funding. And the government held on to 1.5 billion of that to announce some of the changes, some of the things that Mr. Singh is announcing today, now, as using it more like a slush fund right before an election. That is appalling to me. That money should have been prioritized and out sometime in March and April rather than holding on to it. Appalling. The tourism industry needs $680 million in help. The only thing the NDP has done is guaranteed $50 million, then a task force, and potentially another $50 million after. That falls way short of what actually needs to be done. Think about that for a second. We have an airport in this community that employs a lot of people, huge impact on the economy. 1 out of 5 hotels in the Lower Mainland are based here in Richmond. They are hurting badly. We have 700 restaurants just in the Richmond Centre alone. They're hurting badly. And a measly $50 million. Appalling, and it has been a failure of the NDP government.
Thank you, Jaz. And Kay, you have final word on this. We're not doing the 30-second rebuttals, so go ahead.
Well, I'm not going to argue with Jess or Aman, I would just say, let's all get to the Victoria, whoever is going to go there, and just please work together in a bipartisan way and get this done, because the big challenges ahead of us, whatever big billions of dollars they are proposing now, and I hope they will just put it on the table when the time comes. And also, we are going to BC Conservative are also proposing to scrap carbon tax for the interim period, just to help out. Thank you.
Thank you. So those were the questions prepared by the Richmond News. And now we're going to move on to a couple of questions from our readers. We're going to ask two candidates to answer each question. They only have 60 seconds and no responses. So the first question we received was from John Roston, and I will ask Jaz Johal and Aman Singh to answer it. So Richmond has a critical shortage of rental housing, and the city has refused to use the power given to it by the provincial government to designate all or part of the new housing development as rental tenure. Should the BC government intervene to require a substantial amount of rental housing in large developments? Jaz, you have 60 seconds to respond.
Sure. The core issue here is supply, and we need to guarantee more supply moving forward. That's how we're going to get through this challenge of housing crisis. The housing crisis isn't just a Richmond issue. It's a Toronto issue. It's a London issue. It's a Seattle issue. This is a global challenge, particularly in North America and Europe. In regards to the specific question, I think a provincial government has a role to guarantee City Hall moves quicker in dealing with these issues. The last election, 2017, we had 100,000 housing units waiting for approval, stuck in bureaucratic hell in various city councils around the Lower Mainland. We've got to be able to approve these projects a lot faster and get them out there. And of course, the issue of rentals specifically, the federal government has got out of the rental business back in the 1970s. We've got to build a relationship and get back to building that relationship again. Yes, increase supply, and the provincial government does have a role to compel municipal governments to get moving on this. Approval shouldn't be 3 months in one town and 2 years in another community. So the questioner has a very good point, and I definitely believe the provincial government has a role to compel local government to get on with it.
Thank you, Jaz. And Aman, your turn to answer the question. You have 60 seconds.
This is one of the biggest problems people have been facing for the last few years, and it's years in the making. And we're seeing signs of progress, but people are still struggling to rent and buy here. And we want young people and older people to stay here and not move away, right? But this problem didn't come quickly. This was 16 years in the making, right? With the speculation run rampant, massive rent hikes, and they want to continue with that. They want to cancel the speculation tax. When the BC NDP government came in, we put in the brakes on skyrocketing prices. There were 11,000 units that were stuck and empty. When the speculation tax came in, 11,000 more units came available for long-term rentals. We capped rent increases, right? We're on track to building 58,000 new affordable rental units, right? 25,000 homes have already been built. And that's over the next 5 years by 2022.
Thank you. Thank you, Aman. And our second question is from Andrew Wade. He's the Executive Director of the Richmond Arts Coalition. And I will ask this question, or I'll pose this question to Kay Hale and Earl Einarson. So due to the inability to have crowds gather during the pandemic, the arts sector is going to be heavily impacted until a vaccine receives widespread usage. How does your government intend to support artists, art organizations, and arts facilities, and to prevent a permanent loss of performance spaces? So Kay, if you can answer first. You have 60 seconds.
Thank you. Based on the advice of science, I think we can still go ahead and support this this art, this talent that is still. Maybe we can move it outdoors, arrange for facilities outdoors, limited the capacity of, for example, theaters. Instead of 200 people, there may be 50 people, so that the performer can still perform their art and the dramas. I would say that we will need the government support, provincial, city, municipal, to set up some kind of outdoor arena. And that will be the way to go. I don't think, yeah.
Thank you so much. So we really appreciate answering our prepared questions and the questions from our readers.
Sorry, am I answering?
Yes.
Sorry, Earl. Thank you.
No problem.
Earl, go ahead.
It's okay. It's complicated and confusing in this Zoom world of ours. Thank you very much. I think the arts are vital. I think that the Greens are well based with people in mind. We're all about a holistic approach to life. I'm Indigenous. I believe in a holistic approach. We don't have myself personally, I don't have a personal, work, and political life. It's all the same life. What matters to us in the Greens is that we support the arts. So the arts are so vital. They're important. We know the payoffs, and it's been studied many times. My master's is in andragogical theory, which is adult learning theory, and we know that the inclusion of the arts is very important in terms of people's health and mental health and well-being. In terms of dealing with the housing situation, I want you to know quickly that the BC Greens are taking a housing first approach, and we're going to accelerate investments to affordable, supportive social housing on a priority basis. And we're going to work with, local governments to expand the missing middle, such as townhouses and triplexes. And we're going.
Yep, our time is up.
Sorry, I didn't hear the ring. Other things were ringing.
I think we got a lot of things ringing. So all candidates meeting in the age of Zoom. So thank you again for answering our questions and the questions that our readers sent in, and for keeping us on our toes and reminding us when we don't quite get it right. And so now I'm going to give each of you a minute for closing remarks. We are going to start with Singh, running for the BC NDP. Go ahead, you have 60 seconds.
Thank you. This election is a really important election. It's about you, me, and you. It's about moving forward with a stable government that's able and willing to look out for everybody, and that's able to provide services and resources that we need to deal with the pandemic. We're living in an unprecedented time, as we all know. It's about electing a government that listens to the concerns of everyday people and responds to those concerns dynamically. The BC Liberals are not a choice. They've shown in their 16 years of government that they don't care about me and you. They only care about the wealthy and the well-connected. They left British Columbians unable to afford homes and so much more. We can't go back to that. In the last 3.5 years, the BC NDP and John Horgan have shown how good a good government can take care of its people and help families prosper, providing better healthcare, better services, taking care of seniors, getting rid of fees like the MSP and tolls, and making life more affordable in the pandemic for me and you. In the pandemic, the BC NDP stepped up and responded to the challenges to provide benefits to take care of families in need, and continues to do so. We need a stable and strong government that'll help us move forward in this recovery. I've been advocating for people all of my life. I want to be your representative and advocate for you in Victoria. Thank you.
Thank you. And next, just Johal, the BC Liberal candidate. Go ahead.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Eve. Thank you to the Richmond News and all my candidate colleagues. Once again, putting your name on a ballot. It is not a tough, easy thing to do, but we do it because we both care about this province and our constituency. And so that I'm very thankful to once again have this conversation with all of you. Aman was saying that a lot of things we've done in 16 years as BC Liberals. We were re-elected all that time, and we won the 2017 election, although we didn't hold government. Well, why? Because we implemented many things about healthcare to education and provided balanced budgets as well. We are now in an unnecessary pandemic election. We are dealing with a government that has raised 23 separate taxes, so every man, woman, and child in this province pays $1,100 extra. And we're not getting much for it, and that's the issue. As we move forward, as I've said, 10 to 20,000 small businesses could go bankrupt by the end of 2021. How we move forward, how we deal with COVID on the healthcare side and economy is most important. And I believe I've been a strong advocate for Richmond-Queensborough, from healthcare to the Massey Tunnel, the acute care tower, and talking about birth tourism as well.
Yes.
I hope to represent you moving forward as well. Thank you.
And Hale, candidate for the Conservative Party of BC, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. I just want to go back to the housing. In Richmond, 5 in every 80 units that are built by wealthy developer, only 5 units go to the affordable housing. We got to increase this threshold however we can. However, thank you very much for taking the time and inviting me. And I'd like to thank everybody in Richmond News and Earl, Aman, and Jazz also. I look forward to going to Victoria and representing the people of Richmond-Queensborough. I'm a BC Conservative Party put people first, not government first. I hope this 2020, as we all have said, is a very challenging year, and I hope that everybody, albeit has been a snap election, I hope we all come out and vote for the person you think is going to best represent you. This is not the time to go party. This is the time to find the person that is going to represent you there, and not toe the party line. And this is the time that vote for the person you feel is the person that is going to listen to your voice. And thank you very much. I'm out of time.
Yes. Earl.
Thank you.
Earl Einarson, running for the BC Green Party. You have 1 minute.
Thank you. I want to say this. So I was lucky enough to meet with Sonia at yesterday in New Westminster. It feels like 3 days ago, and we were able to speak. And in her, I found a leader for BC, and I think it was proven by her debate that she is an eloquent and well-spoken leader for this province. Myself, I need to step forward into the political arena to make sure Indigenous voices are heard, and more importantly, for Richmond, Queensborough people, I'll be speaking specifically and representing these people. And I think that we know, as Sonia says, we know that when government works, we know that government works better when no party has all the power. The NDP has thrown us into a tailspin in a COVID environment. They've thrown this snap election at us. They ripped up our agreement. We did have an agreement with the NDP, and we think we believe that the Greens' voice needs to be heard.
Yes, thank you. So I'd like to thank all our candidates for taking part. This was an extremely lively discussion and debate. And I wish you all luck. My name is Maria Rantanen, and Eve Edmonds, editor of the Richmond News. She has the final word.
Oh, thank you so much, Maria. That was great. I really want to thank the candidates for participating in this debate in particular, but also for putting your names forward as candidates. As Jazz just said, it's not a small job, but it's a critical one to keep our democratic process vibrant. Finally, I want to thank all of you who tuned in to watch this debate. I hope you found it helpful in not just deciding who to vote for, but also in understanding some of our community's key issues and considering the best ways forward. So thank you and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay.